Yo, what's up? This is House of Panda. Welcome to In My House, real talk with real artists, where we dive deep into the music, the struggles, the triumphs of today's most inspiring artists. No fluff, no filters, just raw conversations getting to the heart of the creative journey. And today we got my good friend CPARK from Toronto. She's an emerging bass music artist. I'm so happy to have her on. Give it up for CPARK.
Yo, thank you so much for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yo, for sure. How you doing? How's everything over there?
Man, everything's good. Everything's blessed. I've had such a fast-paced start to the year, just in terms of shows and music and just everything in general. So yeah, things have been awesome over here. Honestly, no complaints.
I seen that. You got music that just came out today, right?
Yeah, that's right. I just dropped a flip on SoundCloud for New Level by CPARK. Literally just dropped today, a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I just seen the preview yesterday, the day before, and I was like, wow, this is fire.
Hell yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I wanted to create something for the dance floor. So that
I can tell you've been working on your sound design.
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, whoa, this is hot.
Yeah, I got such a great response on that one. I've really, like you said, spent a lot of time honing in on my sound and kind of the message that I want to portray with my music. So I'm glad that it's resonating with people and that it resonated with you as well. That means a lot. So
yeah, for sure. Are you changing directions at all with your music this year?
I wouldn't even say I'm changing direction. I'm more so like honing into what I feel my authentic sound is going to be. I feel like it took me a couple of years to kind of figure out what that was. The only thing that I knew for sure was that I just didn't want to sound like everybody else. Like I wanted to kind of carve out my own unique sound in bass music. And that was actually a big reason I chose bass music, is because I just felt like there was the most amount of room for innovation and the most amount of room for me to be creative with my sound. So, it's kind of hard to describe. Like, it's not really deep dubstep, but it's also not heavy dubstep. It's like kind of like in between. It's like a hybrid kind of dubstep almost. But yeah, I think it took me a couple of years to really get it down. But this is the year that I really like hone in on what that sound is and just, go off with the music and figure out what it is. So
yeah. So how would you describe your sound right now?
Oh man, my sound. Well, the first word that comes to mind is that it's very dark. I think a lot of people that listen to my music would agree with that as well. It's kind of like a balance between light and heavy, dark and light. Yeah, I don't know how to describe.
It definitely has that grit to it, So I like it.
It's like it has heavy parts, but it has softer parts. Like it's really just about a balance of different elements and really just embracing the dichotomy of everything in general. Like I really wanted to embrace like several sides of the same coin, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like I didn't want to just. It's kind of like telling a story. Like there's many different parts to it, many different sides to it, and many different ways to express it. But yeah, I would say that in general, I tend to put a dark twist to things, and I try not to limit myself in terms of genre either. Obviously, everything kind of falls under bass music.
Because you have a techno project too, right?
I do. That's right. That's right. It's funny. When I started producing, I actually started with house and techno. A lot of people don't know that, but when I started producing, I started with house and techno. This was back in 2020 was when I bought Ableton and first started learning. And my first ever release actually back then was a house tune.
There we go.
So I started with house and techno. I felt like it laid a pretty good foundation in terms of, how to produce music and how to use Ableton. And then somehow I kind of fell into bass music. Like, again, like I just felt like while I was kind of in the house groove back then, I just wanted to do something a little bit more. I wanted to innovate more. I wanted to like kind of put a little bit more of a dark perspective into things.
Bring that rage out.
Exactly. I feel like my whole like artistic journey has just been me like figuring out how to express myself authentically.
Yeah.
And that means like playing around with different genres, different mediums of art, like whatever it was. Like my entire life has just been that up to this point. And now I'm only just starting to figure out what that means for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the techno project, I could not decide between the two, man. I love techno and bass music so much. And, my techno project is a very specific concept as well. It's a concept that I've always wanted to do and kind of had brewing in the back of my mind for many, many years. And then, I figured this was the time to take the leap.
It's got that Japanese mask vibe, right? That you're going for.
That's right. Yeah. It's inspired by the Hanya and Oni demons in Japanese culture. The name actually, Eina Ino, is Hanya and Oni backwards. So that's why.
Shit. Yeah.
That's why I named it. It's Hanya and Oni backwards. It is based on, those Japanese demons, and the Hanya demon specifically is about feminine rage and power. So that is kind of what I'm embodying with that project there. I wear a mask for it. I'm a completely different persona with that project, but I'm very, very grateful that I get to do both.
I love it because you're really like putting thought into like the concept, and it's really like a solid like self-expression of like what you really want to put out there, right? So I dig it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like the CPARK project is just like who I am as a person and a human being, an artist. But for Eina, like that is just a very, very specific story and concept that is a part of me, but not all of me. So,
hey, we love that. You gotta have like a story with your project. So, have you always been creative?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like my mom claims that I was like literally singing out of the womb or something. Like I was carrying a tune as a baby, and my parents were like, "Oh, like she's going to be really good at music for sure." Like my parents, for whatever reason, they saw it in me before I could even walk or talk or anything. And yeah, I've always been a musician in one shape, way, or form throughout the years. Like I was classically trained in a few instruments when I was young, like piano, violin. I was also a pretty serious guitar player back then as well, like in middle school and high school. I was a part of a band in high school and everything. We used to do Battle of the Bands and
Battle of the Bands in high school, bro.
Dude, this is what I mean. Like I've tried so many different like avenues of music and art throughout the years, and I think that it was all very integral in me finding out who I really am as a person and an artist over the years, and all of it really shaped who I am and what my sound is today. But yes, to answer your question in short, I have always been creative, and not just in music, in many different forms of art as well. Definitely an artist at heart, that's for sure.
That's awesome. I feel like my parents tried to put me in piano lessons when I was a kid, and I didn't want to do it. And then I grew up, and I was like, "Yo, why didn't you put me in like piano? Like we did. You didn't want to do that shit." And I was like, "Man, that would have been so useful now." Because I feel like I took a completely different path until I actually decided like I wanted to do music.
Yeah, you know what? I will say, like, you don't necessarily need to be classically trained in music theory to be successful in music. I think it does help out. Yeah, I will say it does help. But I mean, I was learning like very intricate, like classical pieces on the piano. Like, I don't know how important that part was, but basic music theory, like, yeah, that definitely is applicable to what we do as producers today, for sure.
I had some very early demos I was sent to my friends, like, and my friend has like a pitch perfect ear, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't think this is the key, bro." I'm like, "Oh shit." Yeah, so stuff like that makes me like, man, I wish because I feel like learning it now, for some reason, I feel like it would have been a lot easier if I was a kid. Because it's very complex. Especially when you get to like the deeper music theory side of it, like I still don't feel like I'm grasping it. I know all the basics now, but I feel like I'm still not grasping like the really like complex stuff.
Yeah. I think it can definitely get very granular when it comes to music theory and stuff. And this is all because I was forced to learn it back then. Like there's a lot to it, but I think ultimately what matters is that it sounds good. It sounds good. Doesn't matter how you get there, as long as it sounds good. Everything's in key and in tune, whatever. Like
that's true, because I watched this thing about deadmau5, and he said that he doesn't really even know music theory. I'm like, how the fuck would you write something like Strobe and not know music theory? But I guess he just kind of
true.
He knows that if it sounds out of key, but he's a kind of like trial and erroring, and then it ends up working out. It's almost maybe it's a better thing that way, because you're not following the rules too much.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. And, I think music theory will give you a foundation, if anything, but it's not like
Yeah.
the be all end all in terms of how you approach music. In fact, the more you break the rules and kind of like explore outside of what typical music theory tells you to do, like you never know, you could create a banger, you could create something that nobody's ever created before.
Yeah. You
There's
get
just
those
so many
happy
different
accidents.
possibilities. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm all for the happy accidents, man. I swear that's like how like my best sounds and best songs were made, just happy
Yeah, it's very
accidents.
true. I just like throw shit at the wall. Like, actually, this works. So,
Right? Yeah, you never
how's
fucking know, man. You just try it out.
how's your New Year been? How was your holidays and everything?
New Year's and holidays was good. It was really busy for me. I just moved. I've been moving around a lot like these last couple
Oh
of
yeah,
years.
you moved, right? Are you
I
still in
did
Saga
move.
then?
No, I was in Saga. I'm actually in Oakville now. Pretty
Okay,
much
word.
like at the border of Mississauga and Oakville. But yeah, I live in a condo now, and I have like my own studio space. So yeah, it was really busy kind of getting everything set up, but it was definitely worth the time and investment. Like I feel like so in my element and like so focused finally. Like I feel like this was the environment change that I was waiting for. So
Yeah, for sure. Once you have
now
your
I'm here.
space, it's kind of like where you can really lock in. Like some people don't need
Yeah.
it. I feel like some people can produce and work anywhere, but I'm like
Yeah.
I'm the same as you. Like I need my space.
Yeah,
When I'm in
yeah.
my space, I get so much done. And when I'm traveling, it's just not the same. Like I can get stuff done, but it's not like the focus I get when I'm like in my personal space. So
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. I think it's overall, good to be adaptable and work in different environments, but it does also make a difference to have a solid home base and like just a place where you can just lock in and focus and, get whatever you need to get done. So
yeah, for sure. Like I think when I moved away from Canada and I went to Asia, I didn't really get into like the party culture there because that's when I was kind of getting out of like drinking.
right.
And I felt like I didn't really fit in that much because it's such a party culture there. So I spent a lot of
Right.
alone time there. And that's when I kind of like really got to know myself and did a ton of self-discovery. Just like go to the beach by myself. Pretty much did a lot of stuff for myself unless I was at the club or, people wanted to head over to like a restaurant or something like that. But yeah, you
Yeah.
need that time. I feel like when you get that time to know yourself, then I feel like you make better decisions because you can really trust your gut on things because you just know
Yeah.
what's good for you, like what's truly good for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Getting to know yourself and having that quality time with yourself, just like you said, yeah, it'll help your decision making. It'll help you see things clearer. And I feel like after a while, like you just know, like your gut will tell you what's right. You know yourself the best. You know how, how certain situations work after a certain time.
Yeah.
When it comes to yourself. So yeah, I totally get it. It's feel like a necessary period of self-discovery everyone should go through for sure.
Yeah. That leads into something I want to talk about as well, because I notice a lot of newer artists like to look for advice sometimes because they don't know what is the right move or what's the next move. And
Yeah.
often I kind of just tell them like my advice, but that is based on my experience, And
Right.
I often tell people like I can give you advice, but ultimately you have to make that decision for yourself because you know what
Yes,
feels right to you,
so
right?
true. That's
Do you feel
so
like that
true.
as well?
Definitely, yeah. And I'll obviously give my 2 cents if it's asked for, but you're right. Like everyone's individual experience is so different. Like we may all have the same goals, but there are so many different pathways to get there, so many different methods to level up. Like everybody has different strengths and weaknesses. Like everyone's journey is just so unique. Like you just can't apply the same formula to, everyone's different experience, right? So yeah, you're so right. There's different ways to go about things, different ways to reach success. Success might mean different things to different people as well. There's just so many things, so many variables to think about.
Yeah, there's a really good quote. I think it's from Carl Jung. If the path ahead of you is clear, then it's not your path because someone's already walked it,
Yeah,
And I was like,
that's
that's
so
true.
true. I love that.
Have you ever gotten like bad advice?
Oh man, yeah, I've gotten some bad advice before.
And you're like, fuck, like that wasn't it.
Yeah, I've gotten some great advice too, but I've
Yeah.
also, definitely been misled, definitely listened to, the wrong advice. And I wouldn't say the consequences were too detrimental, luckily, but that of all things taught me I got to trust my gut. Like I know myself the best and I know what's best for me, like you said. And at the time, I think, because I was a newer artist and I just didn't know what to do, I was relying a lot on what other people were advising me to do. And that quickly made me realize you can't listen to everybody's advice. I think a good rule of thumb is, never take advice from somebody who isn't where you want to be in life. And even if they are where you want to be in life, again, they might be a different person than you. They might have a different approach.
You're going to get there a different way, so.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You know what's best for you. And sometimes you got to learn the hard way. That's just life. But yeah, there's good and bad advice, different ways to go about things for sure.
Yeah. Wait, so sometimes you take advice and that's when like, hey, maybe I can't just like rely on people that I think are more experienced than me, but like, it lead me to where I wanted to go. So, I have to really, this is why I kind of like always talk about like self-work. When we're in person, I talk to you about this so much.
Of course.
Non-negotiable about doing like self-work, like meditation, journaling, and stuff like that, because then you really kind of fine-tune your intuition and learn how to trust your gut. And every time I have gone against it, it has done me wrong. But every time I actually listened to it, even if it didn't make logical sense, it was just like, my gut is telling me this, and I feel like I know this. But logically, it didn't make sense at the time. But then, I go against it. It doesn't turn out, and every time I listen to it, it's great. So. Yeah,
definitely. Your gut tells you what's right, like that instinct that you have within, like you just learn to trust it over time. And like you said, sometimes it's not fully logical. It's just like what your gut is telling you, literally. Yeah, it's hard to explain, but I know exactly what you mean.
Like your built-in GPS system that you're born with.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. I mean,
yeah.
But what's on the horizon for CPARK? Like, I know you've been grinding on music. I just seen that you did like an 8-hour studio session recently.
Oh my gosh! You know what? I've got to say, like, the balance and anybody out there, by the way, who's balancing a full-time job and music and other responsibilities in life. Shout out to all of you, all of us. Like, this balance is very, very difficult. Not everyone's built for it. So, when I do get those days, I get to sit in the studio for 8 hours. Oh my gosh, I cherish those days to the fullest. I don't get them often, but when I do, the results are always great. I try to get as many of those sessions in as I can. But yeah, there's a lot going on this year. I just played for Tape B here in Toronto at Department. And then oh my gosh, definitely one of the craziest shows of my career. Oh my gosh, thank you to everybody that came out. It was such a good time. So I had that. I'm playing in Tampa this week at TK Lounge. I fly out tomorrow.
What time you fly out?
Let's see, my flight is at 8 p.m. tomorrow. I'm a little nervous. There's a lot of, weird situations happening at the airport right now.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I just seen that happen at Pearson. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. There's all kinds of, it's scary times.
That was fucking weird. I've never seen that before, where a plane lands upside down. And I was like, that was in Toronto. Like, that feels so close to home,
No, I'm so glad everybody survived, and there weren't any fatalities or anything, but man, that's just scary to think about for sure. Definitely heightened anxiety about flying now, but oh man.
Yeah, and as musicians, like, our job is to tour around and travel. Like, I'm going to be traveling again next month, and I'm like,
oh my gosh, yeah.
But it's been so many of those, like, in the last like 4 months.
Yeah.
I was like, what is going on? Like, I've never seen this before ever in my life. And I'm like, this is very strange,
I know. Something's not right. Something's not sitting right with me. I'm really trying. I know that I'm going to be, traveling a lot more, and I'm trying not to, read into it too much. But I think everyone can agree there's, something's up. Like, it's just happening a little bit too frequently these days. So
yeah, I think you just gotta pray for a safe flight and just
literally.
Trust your intuition if it tells you, like, not to get on this flight,
Right.
I feel like you have really good intuition too. So just like, maybe like put your hand in your heart and like, okay, is this flight safe? So
yeah, I trust. Yeah, I'm going to trust my gut on that one. Right now it's telling me I'm going to be okay. So, we're just going to run with that. But
yeah, you will be. That's crazy
Yeah.
times. I'm like, oh, I've never heard of this
Oh my
happening ever in my
gosh.
life, you know? So,
I know. This frequently, at least. Yeah, this frequently, and just, so many events happening just throughout the world in general. Like, I just feel like we're living in
yeah.
very weird, crazy times right now. So,
Where are the astrologers at? What's the astrology saying?
yeah, what are the stars saying? Tell us what's up. Like,
It's a year of the snake. So
yes.
I think I seen this video on TikTok and it was like every year of the snake, it's been something huge in the world has happened. So
Oh,
maybe that
wow. Okay.
maybe that's what it is. Like,
Yeah, very, very huge turn of events happening in the world right
yeah.
now. Yeah, I remember
But
you told me the last time we sat down as well, and I know you have the right predictions about stuff. You said that I was going to have a really big year this year, even though I may have struggled the last
oh,
couple of
yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah. I remember
It's
that.
literally happening right now. And I'm like, Panda told me I'm going to have a good year. That
What's
means I'm going to have a good
Oh
year,
yeah, because you're a
and
rooster.
that's
You're,
right.
you're
Yeah,
born, you're the rooster. Let's go.
yes,
See,
sir.
I told you, this shit doesn't
Yeah,
lie.
I know. I kept telling myself, I'm like, Panda told me I'm going to have a good year. So I'm going to have a good year. And yeah, lo and behold, the year has been starting off amazing. So
Yeah, I feel
you're
like that
right. The
too. Like,
stars don't lie.
that's good.
Yeah.
How was last year for you? How did you have any
Last year, oh
struggles?
man. Oh yeah, I feel like it was a challenging year for me when it came to, just self-development and just figuring out who I was and just what I wanted to do in life in general. And while it was challenging, I feel like I came out of it just so much stronger and wiser and
Yeah,
more the most sure of myself that I've ever been.
yeah,
Like, I feel like I've came out of all of that struggle of not knowing who I was and what I wanted to do, and kind of like facing a lot of the inner demons that I didn't know I had. While it was really difficult, I feel like I came out of it as a much stronger person. I can see things in a completely different perspective now. I have so much more patience and kindness for myself too. I feel like that was something that I really, really struggled with
yeah. That's so
in the
important.
past, is that I was so hard on myself. If I ever did anything wrong or something went wrong, or, maybe like I didn't hit a goal that I was meaning to hit for a long time, like I would just beat myself up over it, like for like so much, to the point where it was like, it was,
Yeah,
it was so damaging to my mental health, like how hard I was on myself. And then
yeah. It's
eventually,
counterproductive too, right? Like there is
yeah,
like the grind of like locking in and going hard on everything, right? But you have to go easy on
yeah,
yourself too, because I mean, you have to be patient with yourself, kind to yourself, because
yeah.
if you're just like beating yourself up and you're just trying to get shit done, nothing's gonna work, because like energetically, you're just gonna be like in a shitty place, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, you got to nourish your soul too. And now when I try to think of it, like I think of like me speaking to my inner child, or like the younger version of myself. And I know like she would be amazed at how far I got in life and who I am as a
Yes,
person
exactly.
today. So I try to think of that. Like, if I think about like kind of scolding myself or like punishing myself for something that happened, or like, maybe not, achieving something that I thought I would achieve at this point, I would think of the person that I was like 5 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever. And I'm like,
Yeah,
what would I say to her if I wanted to give her some words of encouragement right now? I wouldn't tell her that she's a piece of shit and that she needs to do better. I would not say that. That's
exactly.
for sure. So,
Like she would
it's
like
definitely, yeah.
she'd probably be stoked that you're doing what you're doing now, you know? Like sometimes you have to look
Yeah.
back and be like, damn, I actually made like you started doing music in 2020, you said, right?
In terms of producing, yeah. I started
Yeah, like
learning how to produce in 2020, and then DJing
within
was a little
4
bit
years, I
before
mean,
that, but
that's pretty good. That's really good.
right.
So
I try to
yeah,
remind myself of that too. And I feel like I've come a pretty far way in 4 or 5 years, at least from a production standpoint.
yeah,
And it actually really excites me because I'm just starting to find what my sound is. And I'm also only 4 or 5 years in. Like, just imagine how much more developed and crazy my music is going to be in
yeah.
2 years, 3 years, 4 years, like 10 years
It's like
down the
a
line.
continuous evolution too, being an artist. And I'm just finding this out by myself too.
Yeah.
I feel like I was going through the same thing last year where I've kind of like was going through some shit, and then I finally came out of it and I felt like more sure of myself too. And I was like, this is what I'm going to
Yeah.
do. And like, I had to walk with this certainty of what I wanted to do, right? Kind of like tunnel vision into like just what I'm doing and not worry so much. So that I think in this like social media age, it's very easy
Mhm.
to compare what you're doing to someone else. It's like, I think it's just a
Oh my
natural like,
gosh, yeah.
human reaction. And then social media just amplifies it so much, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And like, you can't, that's why I kind of like don't dive into social media that much because it's not really how people's lives are
Yeah.
going. And
Hmm.
if you just tunnel vision on your own journey, then you're working at your own pace, on your own path, on your own timing, right? So
It's so true. It's so true. Man, social media it's a tough one, you know. Obviously we need it and it's a very
yeah, it's a
powerful
tool.
tool. It is a
But
tool, double-edged sword in many different ways. But yeah,
yeah,
no, comparison is definitely the thief of joy. And like you said, and like we've already talked about, like everyone's journey is gonna be different. So
yeah,
it's just not fair to you to compare yourself to everybody else.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you can't handle social media, just post and don't scroll.
Yeah, literally just post and move on with your day. Like, you
Yeah.
don't need to, you know, it can, yeah, whatever you consume, like on social media, it does affect you, like whether we realize it or
No, for
not.
real.
So you got to be really, really careful of the kind of content that we're consuming on a regular basis. Like, you know, if it's
That's why I
all
try to really
negativity or just whatever, like, yeah, you're going to encapsulate that within yourself. So,
try to really curate my feed these days and follow stuff that I really want to see and only engage in those because
yeah.
it'll show me more of it, right? So stuff that's like
Yeah.
motivating, stuff that's about being creative, stuff
Yes.
about like self-development, wellness, fitness, only that. So then I don't see so much brain rot content or just like stuff I don't
Yeah.
really care about, right?
Mm.
Sometimes I go to the explore page on Instagram and I'm like, why is it showing me all this shit? Like I have no interest in this stuff. You know what I
I
mean?
know. I feel you. I feel you. You know what? Yeah. I think certain algorithms are better at picking up what you're interested in versus
Yeah.
others. But yeah, I think, you know, it's important
Shout out
to curate a
TikTok.
feed man, I have to say TikTok's algorithm is great. They can pick up on things very quickly.
Yeah,
They
whatever's
can
going
figure
on
out
in
what you
there.
like pretty quickly.
Okay, TikTok, you can even be going through some shit and you open TikTok and it has the right video to tell you what you need to hear. I'm like, how the fuck did it know that I need to hear this? Now I'm like suddenly motivated. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I didn't even tell anybody what I'm going through and it's open TikTok and it's like
Wow.
my exact situation. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
trippy.
They're in your head, bro. They're in our heads, man. They're listening to this conversation right now.
Yeah.
We're gonna hear
This
stuff about our conversation. We're gonna see it on our TikTok feeds later. So
then I open IG and it goes to the explore page and it's like some AI like model that's like half naked.
what? Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's
It shows
weird.
me all kinds of weird shit. And I'm like, is this like, I think it's just going to push me to like engage with it. And I'm like, no.
Right?
Not-
Yeah.
not today,
Some stuff I
please.
do not want to see on there, right? Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't even see like people like that I follow. I don't even see their posts anymore. I have to like sift through
Yeah.
all this stuff that like I don't want to see. It's
Bro.
yeah, it can be frustrating for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, social media is so demanding for artists these days. Like,
Oh,
do you
yeah.
feel like, how do you approach your social media? Do you like to batch content or do you like kind of like do spur of the moment type stuff?
I try to be a little bit more organized with it now, especially now that I'm with an agency and I'm working with the manager. We have like a social media
Oh,
grid.
yeah. Congrats on
Yes.
that.
So thank you so much. Yeah, it was very, very recent, like as of a couple of weeks ago. So that's, I guess, another one of the big things that have happened this
Yeah.
year so far. I would plan it out pretty well for like, you know, upcoming releases and stuff. Like I would have a marketing plan. But now it's a lot more, I guess, organized. We have a schedule. We kind of have things laid out ahead
Yeah.
of time. So I have like maybe 75% of it planned out. However, you know, there is a little like we leave a little bit of wiggle room in case there is something that we want to post like in the spur of the moment or something comes up last minute. Then we'll try to like work around it and see like how we can fit it into the schedule and everything. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff to keep in mind, like, you know, what times to post when your audience is the most engaged, what kind of content is the most engaging. You know, we're trying out a couple of different things right now, my manager and I. But yeah, I think for the most part, we definitely do try to plan things out as much as we can, try to stick to a schedule as well.
I think it's a really good balance, like 75
Yeah,
scheduled, and then you just kind of leave space for whatever pops up. Cause like, you know, sometimes, like,
exactly.
there's trending things that you want to talk about or whatnot, right? So
Exactly.
you-
Yeah, you want to leave a little bit of wiggle room for sure.
have you dived into any kind of like AI stuff now that there's so many like AI tools out there?
You know, I'm curious about it for sure. I have not tried it myself yet. I think there's just like when it comes to art, There's
Yeah.
definitely very polarizing opinions about
Yeah.
how to leverage AI. I personally don't know how I feel about using it for the actual music and creative aspect of things.
Yeah.
It's something about it just doesn't sit right with me. ChatGPT though, I'll talk to ChatGPT all day. Like ChatGPT will
Yeah.
be my therapist. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think ChatGPT is a great tool.
Yeah. I
I'm
think
all for it.
that's a great use for anybody that doesn't know
Yeah.
about this or hasn't used ChatGPT yet. It can be your therapist and it'll give you some really good answers if you're going through some shit, or if you just need to
Yeah.
troubleshoot something in your life, just ask it a
Mhm.
question. I mean, and it learns your answers, so it kind of like figures out what your life's about or like what your interests are, and it gives you answers based on that, which is cool,
Yeah. A ChatGPT, very, very powerful tool. I'm here for it. When it comes to stuff like that, I think, I'm a fan of it and I think people
Yeah.
should leverage it. But when it comes to creative stuff, I don't know. I'd rather have AI like clean my kitchen or something. I don't need AI to write my music. I'll write my own music, bro. It's fine. But you can help me around the house. Like,
Have
I could
you
use
have
some
you
help
have you
there.
tried? Have you looked into it? Because there's like a big, I guess like a big industry now for AI vocals. There's even AI music creation, like Suno is really popular that
Yeah.
Timbaland endorsed. Maybe he's like a part of the company, but
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I actually tried it out. It's pretty crazy, but it's still missing. It's kind of there. Like what I've
Yeah.
noticed is that say if I give it lyrics, I was testing this out yesterday actually. I would give it lyrics and just see how it would sing it. And it's like
Oh, yeah. Cool.
80% sounds realistic, but 20% you can tell it's AI because it doesn't really sing the lyrics properly. It's kind of guessing how you want the lyrics to be sung. So,
Yeah.
but, I mean, I was impressed. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, that's crazy.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I think for vocals, yeah, I can totally see it being useful for something like vocals.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you just need a couple lines or something. But yeah, no, that's cool. I'll definitely look into it.
That might be the next thing I do is vocals. Maybe I'll sing my own song, and my voice isn't the best unless I'm doing karaoke, but just sing. Maybe I'll sing my own lyrics and then I'll put it through an AI and see how it sounds like. Maybe if I put it through like a female voice, and it might sound amazing. So
yeah, definitely. I think from a vocal standpoint, I can definitely see it being useful for sure.
Yeah, what a wild time we live in.
I know. Wow, man. AI.
Even though it's stem like a stem splitter. So say if you want like a sound or a kick from someone's track, and you just put it into the AI and it just stems it apart, and now you have the stems, which is fucking insane,
That's crazy. Yeah. Oh man.
You know what I mean? Like back then, like people were like, man, like this Afrojack kick is so clean, but I can't like take it out of the track.
Yeah.
Now it's like, whoop, there you go.
Wow, that's crazy that we have like technology that functions like that now. You can literally extract anything you want from a song.
I remember was like 2021. It wasn't that advanced yet, but there was like the acapella ripper, like Lala AI, I think it's called.
Yes, yeah, I remember that one. Mm-hmm.
And I was showing this to like Dr. Fresh, and I was like, yo, this can take any vocal for any track. And I'm like, bro, if you ever need hip hop samples, just put a hip hop track through here. And now you have like the whole vocal, and we're like mind blown. And then now you can do the background vocals, the vocal, the guitar, all the drums, and everything split, which is insane.
That's insane. Yeah. And like they do like a pretty clean job of it too, which is
it's great for bootlegs. I mean, it made bootlegging a lot easier.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The flip I dropped today, like same thing. I used, I think vocalremover.org or something.
Yeah.
To extract the vocals out of the original song. And it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I was impressed. Just a click of a button and it split everything up for you. And
so I mean, it is a great thing. It's a great tool because like sometimes back in the day, there was tools for this, but you could tell if the bootleg was like using an acapella ripper because there'd be this kind of background noise and resonance on it. You're like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think from that standpoint, like splitting stems, extracting vocals, extracting samples, like that's all fine to me. I think where I draw the line is when AI starts to write the music for you. I think that's where I'm like, I don't know, how I feel about that. But again,
it's still not there yet, but yeah, it is a tool. But I mean, there's people out here using full splice loops just to,
You know what? Oh man, it's just so accessible. Like all the tools to learn how to
Yeah.
produce, and even for loops and stuff, you can just drag and drop. I mean, obviously, like
Literally build a track. I've seen people just like put loop,
oh man,
from loop, and then effects, and then synth loop, build up
oh my
loop.
gosh,
I just made a whole track out of it and gone it onto like big labels. So
wow. You know what? That's crazy. I mean, like it's there. It's available. Splice has full on loops. You can just drag and drop into your project. What are you gonna do?
But I mean, the best music is gonna come from people that really, put some creative heart behind it, and it's something like Knock 2's album, that just came out. I was like, fuck,
definitely.
I'm like, how's AI ever gonna create something like this?
Yeah, it can't. That's so true. It's not gonna have the heart and soul of a human being being put into music. That is a whole. It's hard to explain how it sounds different from something that's generated by AI, for example. But it's like when you say like something was made from love, like someone's in the kitchen making something. Oh, you made this from love versus like buying it from the store. You can't really explain what the difference is. But it's the same thing with music. It's just lacking. You can tell when it's lacking human touch or the human.
Yeah, you can tell the soul. Yeah, it's lacking soul. I feel like that having all these tools too is just gonna push like the real creatives to kind of like push it even further, like to kind of really think outside the box and be really creative.
Yes, yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, because what I've noticed, I mean, I played around with it and I generated like so many different tracks, and I'm like, it's still keeping everything very cookie cutter. So if you're creative, you're thinking outside the box, and you're just doing like. Even something like a fake drop, it can't even do like a fake drop, So
that's
stuff like that. But yeah,
that's true. That's true. I think it will, like you said, the people who are really, really innovative with their sound, it'll give them even more space to do their thing and kind of get that sound out there. So
yeah. Let's talk about your creative process a little bit. Like, what would you just share like with people how you approach writing music and what's your creative process?
Oh man, there's different purposes that I go into my sessions with, and it depends on what purpose I go into the DAW with that day. Like some days are just for sound design. I'll go and I'll be like, okay, I'm going to mess around, make some mud pies, come up with some basses that I might be. Mud pies, yes. Let me quickly explain what that is. So you're basically just resampling audio. You'll hit record. You're in something like Serum or Phase Plant, and you're just like messing around with the LFOs and the different sounds. You're applying effects to it. You just record like 2 minutes of you just messing around with the bass, all these different effects you're throwing on it. You record that whole thing. You chop it up. You take the sections that you like. You can resample it again, add more effects to it, process it even further, and then you can turn that into basses or sounds that you can throw into your own songs later on.
That's the way to go.
Yes, very common sound design technique in bass music. A lot of people just kind of sit down and fuck around a little bit, record the whole thing, and then take what they like out of it.
Do you ever flatten something and be like, fuck, I wish I could have went back?
Yeah, sometimes I do. I make sure, you know what, I'm so obsessive over with that. My user library is a disaster right now. There's like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sounds in there.
Like Frozen stuff?
Yes, I save everything, and I've learned this the hard way because just like you said, like I have lost, sounds or progress or just parts of the process that I needed later on. So sometimes I'll make a sound. I'll be like, okay, I like this. I'm gonna save it for later, but I'm also gonna add a little bit more to it, and then I'll save that version and kind of just have so many different variations of the same sound that are kind of banked up in my user library.
Are you very organized though?
I would like to say I'm man.
Don't worry, I feel you.
I answer that question very carefully because in my head it's organized, and when I open Ableton, I know where
you know where it is. Yeah. But
if somebody else opens it, they're gonna be like, "What the fuck is happening in here?" Like everything is just, I know exactly where to find things though. Like, I'll have like my favorite effects, plugins, sounds, kick drums, whatever. I have it all organized. I know where to find it. So I would say it's organized to that extent. But again, it's just organized for me. Like if somebody goes in and tries to decipher it, they're probably not going to figure it out. So,
are you on Ableton 12 now?
No, I'm still on 11. I have not
Whoa.
made the leap yet, but
Oh,
a lot of
cool.
people have said I need to go
It's
and do it.
one feature
So,
you is gonna change your life. So the one feature is that when you click on the sample, there's a button beside it. You can click on find something like this that sounds similar. That is a game
oh,
changer.
that's like the feature in Splice. You can do that in Splice. Like if you find a sample you like and you want to
Yeah.
find similar. So it's like, okay, very cool. I use
Yeah.
that feature pretty often. So
So if
cool
you have
that
like
Ableton has that built in.
yeah, like if your library is a
Very
bunch of like
cool.
different sample folders and you're like, I know I have this sound somewhere, but I don't know what it's named. Like it's probably named something else
Yeah,
that doesn't
yeah.
have to do anything with the sound. And then you just click on this or like find something similar, click on it, and then you'll find that. And I'm like, oh, this is a game changer.
Wow. Okay, that's sick because
Yeah.
I use that feature all the time on Splice when I'm trying to find similar sounds. So
Yeah.
that's a big one, definitely.
No, it's key. Especially if you're not like
Cool.
crazy organized where you just know where everything is. But I feel like artists
Yeah.
can always have their shit more organized.
Definitely. Definitely. I think you know what? Being organized, it can definitely go a long way. It just has to be organized for you. Like if you have a system
Yeah.
and a workflow in place that works for you, that will go a long way. Definitely.
Like
Definitely.
you just open Serum and you're like, I'm gonna pick a sound, and it's fucking like 100 folders.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That was me at some point. It's still kind of me, but I know where things
Yeah.
are in those
I just started.
the folders now. At least.
Have you started deleting shit?
Yeah. No, I'm kind of at a point where like my CPU is being tested. Definitely. You know, things are
Yeah.
starting to freeze. Like I see that little rainbow wheel popping up on my MacBook. So now that's when I know it's time for me to clean some stuff up, get rid
Yeah.
of some old samples or presets or whatever I don't use anymore. Sounds that I made like years and years ago that I'm probably never going to use again.
Yeah. I
But
feel like
yeah,
that's
no,
so
I try to
important.
stay organized. I know.
When
Oh my
it's not
gosh.
organized, the anxiety just kicks in. Like,
I know
yeah.
you get overwhelmed, definitely. And when you're trying to get things done quickly and like get an idea
Yeah.
down quickly and just lay it out, you know, as quickly as possible, and you just have so like hundreds of sounds and things to just sift through in that process. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. There was like
Definitely.
a picture that John Summit like was in his studio, and it showed like his desktop, and it was just like a fucking mess.
I said, oh
I was
my
like-
gosh.
I was like, damn. And then there was an option like, what's that thing on your desktop? You can right click and then you compile and it puts it all into like something neat.
Yeah, yeah.
Someone comments like, please just do this.
Right? I believe to have it lined up. You
Oh,
know,
shit is
instead
hectic.
of like all the icons just overlapping with each other. You can't see shit.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I don't know.
My shit
how
almost got to
people-
there at one point, and then I started doing that compile thing and it saved my life. But
That's good. Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
definitely, you got to have some baseline organization for sure. It goes a long
Yeah.
way.
I feel like, if you're like a painter, you want to know where that exact paintbrush is. You're going to
Yeah,
start writing. So
definitely.
you ever had like a creative idea and you know what you want to write, you know what sound you want to make, but you don't know where that preset or that thing is, and you're like, fuck. And then you're trying to look for it and then you lose the idea.
Oh man, you know what? I have come across that situation before, and that was kind of what motivated me to keep
That's
things
it.
going.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. 'Cause,
That's my
yeah,
past.
I guess we learned the hard way. You got to learn things the hard way sometimes, like we said.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so important to get that idea down quickly, even if it's messy and it's not perfect. Like
Yeah.
it's so important to get it out of your brain and into the DAW quickly. And if you don't, like you said, it's very easily lost. So yeah, knowing where everything is and being able to put it down quickly is so important.
Yeah, that's a big goal this year. It's just like I think this year kind of really put me in the spot where like, yo, you need to start organizing stuff, because I've had that
Yeah.
situation happen too many times. But yeah,
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Yeah. I hear
speaking
you.
of goals this year, like, what are your goals this year? And I would say, where do you want to see yourself in like 5 years?
Oh man, that's a great question. I had some really, really big goals for myself, I will say, but I've learned to kind of break it down into smaller, more realistic ones lately to kind of help me get there and prepare myself mentally. But if we were to start like smaller scale, this year is going to be a really big year for releases for me. Just putting that out there for anybody listening. There's going to be a lot more
Let's
music
go.
coming out. I'm working on an EP. It's almost done. So you guys can expect that later this year. But from a release perspective, there's going to be a lot more music, a lot more label releases, A lot more collabs. That's something that I told myself I would do more of this year, is work with more people, other artists who have, a similar sound. I just wrapped up a collab this weekend. So lots of music to come. That's a big goal. More releases, more label releases, more collabs. And then in terms of, I guess, shows, well, I'm playing Veld in the summer. That was actually a goal of mine. I didn't know I would. I didn't know. I was a 2026 goal, actually, and it happened this year. I'm like still in shock about it, but
maybe I'll pull up for that.
Yeah, dude, come by. The lineup is solid. It's going to be a really great weekend.
August in Toronto, always nice too.
Yeah.
Maybe if I'm around that weekend, I'll pull out for sure.
Yeah, dude, let me know if you come through. It's going to be a really, really good weekend. Yeah, so big mainstream festival was... Sorry?
I'm going to put you on the AP.
Yeah, I'm sure. Usually at least, some of the Toronto locals will be playing the AP. So hopefully we can make that happen. But, it's crazy. I had set goals for myself in December. I wrote a lot of these things down on paper. Playing a big festival like Veld was a 2026 goal of mine, and I just cannot believe it's happening already. I'm still...
You manifested it faster. I told you this.
I manifested it quickly. Yeah, I've played Big Dub twice now, and I love the experience there, and it just made me realize, okay, I want to play more festivals, bigger festivals, and Veld was on the top of my list. I was like, if I can play Veld, that would be huge for me. I think I can do it in 2026.
I mean, in Canada, Veld is probably the biggest in Canada, right?
Yeah, it's one of the most high profile festivals in the country for sure. Even people in the States, when I had announced it, people in the States were like, wow, this is huge. That's, they even knew what Veld was. So yeah, definitely a huge goal that I was already able to achieve this year, which I feel so, so grateful for. But yeah, that's kind of what things are looking like short term. I feel like the last couple of years were kind of ramp up years for me to kind of figure out what my sound was, what I wanted to do with this project, have my music heard by the right people. And now that I have a great team to work with, a manager who believes in my sound, now I can start offloading a lot of the back end work to my team. Yeah, it's going to be full force ahead in terms of the creative aspect of things, a lot more music, really going to be honing in on just every aspect of this project from a creative angle, the music, the aesthetic, my brand, who I am as CPARK, who is CPARK. You guys are all going to find out this year.
Who is she?
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of things up in the air. And, in terms of long term, while I do want to play a lot of these bigger festivals and get on these bigger labels, I would love to run the show myself one day as well. For people like me, people like us, that is the solely, not solely, but one of the biggest reasons I'm doing this. I noticed a very distinct gap in bass music specifically, for Asian women, people of color in general. And, I just want to be able to give people the spotlight that may not have those opportunities normally. So that's a big reason why I'm here. The short term is to obviously get on those bigger labels and bigger festivals and, attain those goals myself. And then later on in the future, I want to be able to pave the path for other people to do the same.
Let's go. I fucking love that.
Hell yeah.
Usually when I end this off, I want to ask you, what advice would you give to your younger self? But you kind of did that already earlier. But you can do it again. So what advice would you give to your younger self or artists just getting into the game now?
Oh man, there's a lot of advice I wish I could give, but if there's one thing I would say is to stay true to yourself and spend as much time as possible honing in on your craft, and everything else will fall into place. It'll give you the confidence to know who you are as an artist. It will make you bulletproof to all the challenges that are going to come ahead of you inevitably as an artist. So just pour all of that time and effort, invest into yourself, and the rest of it will figure itself out. So,
yep. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you joining me for In My Haus, everybody.
Hell yeah.
The amazing CPARK. Drop your socials for everybody here.
Oh yeah. So it's Who Is CPARK, pretty much on every platform: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. Yeah. Stay connected and keep up with me.
There we go. CPARK, everybody. And this was In My Haus.